The most dangerous people in your life do not walk around with a warning label. They do not have horns, they do not grimace, and they rarely announce their intentions. In fact, the people capable of the deepest betrayal often arrive wrapped in the warmest packaging. They are the ones who laugh at your jokes a little too loudly. They are the ones who agree with your grievances a little too quickly. They are the ones who make you feel for a fleeting moment like the center of the universe. And this is why you miss the knife until it is already between your ribs. We are biologically wired to seek safety in numbers. Our ancestors survived the savannah by trusting the tribe. But in the modern social landscape, this instinct has become a liability. We are so desperate for connection, so hungry for validation, that we project our own virtues onto other people. We think, I'm honest, therefore he must be honest. I'm loyal, therefore she must be loyal. This is not optimism. It is a cognitive hallucination. You believe you're looking for friends, allies, or partners. But subconsciously, you're looking for mirrors, reflections of your own ego. And the betrayer is simply the person who holds that mirror up the steadiest, waiting for you to look away so they can shatter it. Most of us wait years to discover who someone truly is. We wait for the big event, the stolen money, the revealed secret, the public backstabbing. But the truth is, the evidence was there in the first 5 minutes. The clues were screaming at you in the first conversation. You just didn't see them because you were too busy listening to what you wanted to hear. Today, we are not going to talk about how to manipulate people or how to win friends. We are going to talk about something far more uncomfortable. We are going to talk about the art of seeing the machinery behind the mask. We are going to deconstruct the psychology of the betrayer, not so you can destroy them, but so you can remain untouched by them. The ancient Stoics had a concept called Katalepsis. Roughly translated, it means true perception or grasping. It is the ability to look at a thing or a person and see exactly what they are, stripped of your emotional interpretation, stripped of your hope, and stripped of your fear. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire filled with sycophants and potential assassins, practiced this daily. He wrote to himself about stripping away the legend of things. A fine wine is just rotting grapes. A purple robe is just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. He applied this same ruthlessness to people. He understood that betrayal is not an anomaly. It is a category of human behavior as natural as a storm or a drought. The Stoic does not feel betrayed in the emotional sense because the Stoic never blindly invested their happiness in the variable of another person's character. The modern trust test is not a trap you set for others. It is a filter you apply to your own mind. When you meet someone new, your default setting is likely hope. You hope they are good. You hope they are useful. This hope creates a blind spot. To spot a potential betrayer in 5 minutes, you must shift your operating system from hope to observation. You must become a scientist of human behavior. A scientist does not get angry when a chemical reaction explodes. They simply note the volatility. If you can detach your need for approval, the signals of a betrayer become blindingly obvious. They are not hiding. They are broadcasting their nature on a frequency you haven't tuned into yet. Let us examine the signals. The first and most immediate signal of a treacherous nature is the speed of intimacy. Trust, by definition, is a historical product. It is built over time through repeated actions and verified reliability. It is a heavy stone laid one upon another. The betrayer, however, tries to build a house of cards. Watch for the person who offers you instant intimacy. Within 5 minutes, they're telling you a deep secret, a trauma, or a grievance about someone else. This is often mistaken for vulnerability. You might think, wow, they are so open, they must really trust me. This is a trap. This is what psychologists call forced teaming. By sharing a secret, they create a false sense of debt. They have given you a coin, and now you feel psychologically obligated to give them one back. They want your secrets. They want your leverage. From a Stoic perspective, a person who lacks the discipline to guard their own inner world will certainly not have the discipline to guard yours. Seneca warned against the person who unburdens themselves to the first person they meet. If they are selling someone else's privacy to buy your attention, know this: you are not a friend to them. You are just the next customer. The moment you leave the room, you become the currency they use to buy the next person's attention. The second signal requires you to look for what is missing. When you interact with a person of high integrity, a person of autarkia or self-sufficiency, you will encounter friction. They will have opinions that differ from yours. They will have boundaries. They will have a distinct outline. The betrayer, conversely, is fluid. In those first few minutes, watch how they react to your statements. Do they agree with everything you say? Do their eyes light up exactly when yours do? Do they mirror your body language, your slang, your tone perfectly? We are biologically programmed to like people who are like us. The betrayer hacks this system. They become a blank screen for you to project your desires onto. But consider the physics of this. A person with no spine can bend in any direction. If you cannot find a single point of disagreement or a single unique edge to their personality in a genuine conversation, be on guard. You are not meeting a soulmate. You are meeting a predator in camouflage. The Stoic values truth over harmony. Someone who prioritizes harmony over truth is someone who will lie to keep the peace and eventually lie to save their own skin. Perhaps the most subtle and dangerous indicator is how they frame their own history. Ask them about a past failure, a past job, or a past relationship. Listen to the grammar of their response. Does the story have a villain? Is the villain always everyone else? The psychological profile of a chronic betrayer is rooted in a lack of accountability. They view themselves as a leaf in the wind blown about by the malice of others. My boss hated me for no reason. My ex was crazy. The world is unfair. If every story they tell portrays them as the helpless victim of someone else's incompetence or malice, you are looking at a person who cannot accept responsibility. This is crucial because betrayal is rarely a calculated act of evil. It is usually an act of weakness. It is the inability to stand by a hard promise when things get difficult. If they cannot take ownership of their past, they will not take ownership of their future with you. When they eventually let you down, and they will have a story ready. They will be the victim, and you will be the villain who didn't understand them. The Stoic looks for agency. If you see no agency, you should see no future. Finally, you must observe how they treat the irrelevant people. This is an old adage, but we must view it through a psychological lens. Watch their eyes when a waiter makes a mistake or when someone bumps into them in a hallway. Watch how they speak of people who are not in the room. The betrayer often operates on a hierarchy of utility. They treat you well because you are useful, you have status money or attention to give. But how do they treat those who have zero utility to them? The Stoic concept of sympathia suggests a connection to the whole of humanity. A person who can switch their empathy on and off like a light switch is a person whose character is conditional. And if their character is conditional, it is only a matter of time before the conditions change for you. You are looking for consistency. If you see a king in front of you but a tyrant to the waiter, you are seeing a tyrant who is currently auditioning for your favor. Do not hire the actor. So you have observed these 5 minutes. You have spotted the forced intimacy, the excessive mirroring, the victim narrative, and the conditional empathy. You have identified the potential betrayer. What is the next step? The modern instinct is to expose them, to argue with them, or to dramatically cut them off. The instinct is to win the social game. But the Stoic path is quieter and far more terrifying to the manipulative mind. You do nothing. You do not react. You do not explain. You simply remove the fuel. A fire cannot burn without oxygen, and a betrayer cannot operate without your emotional investment. You withdraw your trust, but you do not necessarily withdraw your presence if it is not required. You treat them with the polite detachment you would offer a stranger. This is the ultimate power of the trust test. It is not about changing the other person. It is about rendering their weapons useless. When you see reality clearly, when you use katalepsis, you are no longer susceptible to the flattery or the lies. You see the mechanism. You see the machine. And here is the hardest truth of all, the one that might keep you awake tonight. Sometimes the person who fails this test is not a stranger. Sometimes, when you strip away your hope and look at the raw data, you realize the betrayer is someone you have allowed into your inner circle for years. The Stoic does not flinch from this reality. We do not cling to the mistake just because we spent a long time making it. The ability to spot a betrayer is not just a social skill. It is an act of self-preservation. It is the refusal to let your soul be colonized by the chaos of others. Trust is not a gift you owe the world. It is the most expensive thing you own. Stop handing it out to people who haven't even earned the right to hold your attention. Walk through the world with your eyes open. The signs are always there. Are you brave enough to read them?